Good afternoon, everyone. Before I speak to the economic situation, I have to take a moment to address something that the President said this morning. Toward the end of his remarks, President Trump said he hopes that, quote, George Floyd is looking down and seeing this is a great day for our country. He was speaking of a man who was brutally killed by an act of needless violence and by a larger tide of injustice that has metastasized on this president's watch as he's moved to split us based on race and religion, ethnicity. George Floyd's last words, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe," have echoed all across this nation and, quite frankly, around the world. For the president to try to put any other words in the mouths of George Floyd, I frankly think is despicable. And the fact that he did so on the day when black unemployment rose, Hispanic unemployment rose, black youth unemployment skyrocketed, tells you everything you need to know about this man and what he really cares about. And I'm worried when you look deeper to the data. While temporary layoffs went down, permanent layoffs went up. Donald Trump still doesn't get it. He's out there spiking the ball, completely oblivious to the tens of millions of people who are facing the greatest struggle of their lives. These folks aren't feeling any less pain today than they were yesterday. People who lost their health care in the crisis, they're not celebrating today, especially when Donald Trump is still going to federal court fighting to strip away the health care protections for even more Americans. The fact is that about 13 million fewer jobs today for American workers than the day President Obama and I left office. So while it's wonderful to see 10% of the families who've lost their jobs due to Trump's disastrous pandemic response start to make their way back, the president's behavior makes me deeply worried for the 90% who haven't. The depth of this job crisis is not attributable to an act of God, but to a failure of a president. The truth is, every country dealt with their job losses due to this pandemic, but America was hit much harder out of the gate due to the complete incompetence and mismanagement of the response. It's time for him to step out of his own bunker, take a look around the consequences of his words and his actions. Let's be clear. The president who takes no responsibility for costing millions and millions of Americans their jobs deserves no credit when a fraction of them return.